Crap. Hold on, we're live, but I'm not
Yeah.
actually ready yet. We're live. Hold on. What's up, everybody? My name is Michael Nip, and this is On the Topic of Video Games, episode 14 on theculturemovepeople.com. This is our podcast where we talk about video games, namely video games we've been playing. This is my co-host, Normal on the show. His name is Drewby.
Imagine this. We actually have video games to talk about this week. No, the last
We
few
talked about
weeks
video games last week.
Yeah, it's been kind of dry, in my opinion.
Yeah. So normally we start off with talking about usually what Drewby's been playing. So Drewby, you said what you been, look at my hair. What you been playing, Drewby?
All right, so that you guys don't have to look at Michael's hair. I'll talk about what I've been playing. A couple things. I started a game called Burnout Paradise, which is a open world racing game. It's actually really fun. I'm actually kind of surprised. There's no story. There's not much of a campaign. There is just you driving around in the city, doing races, completing challenges, and having fun while you are doing it. You can there's like ramps throughout the city, see like kind of shortcuts, billboards that you can crash through, train tracks that you can drive on, just all sorts of different stuff. It's actually pretty appealing, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. One of my favorite things about it is the soundtrack for that game, which is actually pretty epic. You've got Guns N' Roses' Paradise City, which is like the opener for the game, and then it kind of goes into all these different like actually mainstream decent songs. I'm trying to think of it. I think Avril Lavigne's got one on there. I can't remember the name of that title. It's not bad, but I have.
Hey, you, I don't like your girlfriend. That one.
Maybe. I don't think so though. I don't know. This is the weak area for me, music.
First, I will comment. It makes complete sense that they would have a game called Burnout Paradise and they would license Paradise City.
Yes.
No brainer.
Since it came from Guns N' Roses, it's probably pretty expensive to get licensing for something like that.
I don't even know how that works. Probably, maybe. Maybe.
I'm sure. Those old classic rock 70s bands. Their egos are like way up here. That's what they think they are. And it's like, nah, you're maybe a little bit more here, maybe.
Their blood pressure and it's also way up there.
Also, but only because they're super old. Burnout Paradise City. Awesome game.
You play on
Check it
PC?
out. I have it on PC. It's on 360 and PS3 as well. I might be on other consoles, but I'm not sure. Probably not. It's not on the next. On the current
How
gen.
old is this game?
2011.
Okay.
2010.
What's the one that everyone always talks about being like the Burnout game? Is it
Burnout
Paradise?
Yeah, it's Paradise City.
I didn't realize that was that recent.
Yes. Paradise City came. Yeah, it is the I know that. Listening to our sister site, Giant Palm, Jeff Gershman talks about how he likes that him and Matthew Rory. They talk about how much fun they play. I mean, Jeff, I think, put like 30 hours into this game, and like I said, there's no story. It is simply you just driving around, and it's just fun the way it all works out. So, probably one of my only beefs with the game is actually there are no licensed cars in it, so it kind of takes that kind of fun novelty out of it. It's all made-up cars, but that's probably because they spent all their money for licensing on the music, which is awesome.
I'm okay with that, but yeah, it probably is a personal preference thing. I would rather have licensed music than cars I don't really know.
Yes, however, even without the licensed cars, I would still rather play this game than like Need for Speed Rivals. I think it's a better game, a racing game. It's a lot. This is probably the most fun I've had out of a racing game since Most Wanted. And that is my top number one racing game. I love that game. I wish if I ever get a 360, I want to go back and play it again, or maybe just let it be awesome in my mind. So, Paradise City. Let's see what else.
Before you move on, I'm gonna say that my favorite racing game is probably Diddy Kong Racing for the N64.
That's your opinion. I really think that game is
I've definitely spent I have spent a ridiculous amount of time in that game. I'm gonna look it up real quick. Keep talking. I'm gonna figure out what that game got back in the day. When
Okay.
games were released.
Okay. So I played some of that. Yesterday, got home from work and I was like, I want to watch. I kind of want to play a shooter. I've been wanting to go back, so I played some more Titanfall. I've got, I've got close to 40 hours, I think, in that game. I'm gonna double check on that. Let's see here.
Titanfall? You have 40 hours? You max
41
leveled in it.
hours.
Did you prestige and whatever?
I've done, yes, once. I did. I've got 41 hours, but there's a fair amount of that is lobby time. So, all right, let's say 39 hours. That game is still fun. My problem with it is that I don't think anyone is playing it on the PC. I have the hardest time getting into specific matches. The only way I can really end up getting in a match is by basically choosing random map, not random map, random game mode, where it's just a variety pack where you play attrition maybe in one round and then hardpoint another. When you go through these different game modes. That game is fun, but it's hard to get into a match because no one is playing it. Talking to a guy who I know owns it on the Xbox One, he says that he doesn't have a problem getting into matches there, so maybe that's just where everyone bought it. The PC crowd, I don't know, may be a little bit less mainstream when it comes to those shooters. They want to go play something else, but that game's still fun. That game is still a thing. And then we'll talk about that in a minute. But today an expansion for Infamous dropped. Infamous First Light, which is an expansion for Second Son, which came out last year. Was it last? Has that game a year old yet? No,
I'm pretty sure Second Son came out this year.
Yeah, it had to. Okay, yeah. So First Light is not a sequel, but is an expansion, kind of
March
a DLC.
This year.
Excuse me?
March this year, March something.
March, gotcha. Okay. That game is worthy as much. I've played a bunch of it. I haven't beaten it yet. I was really close to beating it right before the show, but then I realized that I probably still got a little bit left, and I died, and so I just decided to come on the show anyway. But as much as I've played, Kevin Van Noren's review is kind of accurate, in my opinion.
It's kind of fine, but unnecessary.
I wouldn't say that it's unnecessary. When I say that he's accurate, and the fact what I'm referring to is how it's not innovative in any way and is almost a step backwards from Second Son in gameplay.
That would make it sound like it would be unnecessary. Like Kevin mentions that they retconned the story, and he referred to it, I believe, on Twitter as a trifle, which is just kind of a throwaway piece of stuff.
It's more, maybe there's something that I haven't gotten to yet that I wouldn't necessarily say it retconned the story. I haven't seen anything that's really that contradictory to it. Everything that I'm playing so far, and this game is kind of a prequel to Second Son, because you play as Fetch, who is one of the conduits that you run into in that game. And when you encounter her in Second Son, she's already been running around Seattle. What I am doing is playing through. What you do is you play through her story, kind of what she had to deal with, and how her relationship with her brother, which you learn about in Second Son, and then they expand kind of on that relationship, how that worked. The game, you have more details, how she ended up in Curtin K, and then how she escaped. Also, so I haven't seen anything, but then again, like I said, I haven't completed the story yet, so maybe they do totally retcon it at the end. But yeah, I've played everything. Some of the game modes that I've played it's nothing really new or that exciting. I've been enjoying it mainly from a story perspective and just kind of seeing from that, but the gameplay has not been anything special. The game looks beautiful. The Fetch's character model, it looks really good, and you can see a noticeable difference between her. And there's a scene where she's got tears running down her face, and it looks really good. And then they cut to a shot of her brother, and it's just like ugh. You can tell they did not spend nearly as much time on working on that dude's face. But yeah, it looks great. It's just I don't know that it's actually awesome.
You keep saying that the gameplay is worse. Is it? I mean, obviously, because you're not playing as whatever his name is, Dylan and Cole
Delson.
Sprouse, Delson. Since you're not playing as Delson, you don't have the power to switch elements on the fly. You're stuck with Neon, I'm assuming. What else is the downside? Is it just repetitive quests, which is what Kevin said, or is there something else that you're referring to?
It's repetitive quests, and it's a quest that have been done a million times before. Like, all right, here's an escort mission. Hop on top of this truck and defend it. Okay, you've got to race to the other side of the map because you're timed, and it relates to the story. It's very typical, very standard open world game quests. I did not necessarily. Now I am having fun, kind of navigating the city. You're right. You play completely as a Neon. That is your only power that you have. But they changed some of it up so that it's different from when Delson was doing. Like, it's pretty much the same, but there are some things that they've done to the game, to the world, and to her powers that she does things differently than Delson than you did when you played as Delson. Same power, same Neon power, but it's kind of two different branches of that, of how you would use Neon in a battle or as a moveset.
Are you earning the exact same power-ups that you earned as Delson?
No, they're different power-ups. Some of them are the same. Like, if you remember from Second Son, if you wanted to subdue someone, and they were surrendering, you'd walk up to them and you press square and you'd like circle around them, and then they would kind of like be like tied up in light, and then they'd fall over. The stuff like that is the same. You can still boost. That's still the same as running really fast. It still kind of works that way, but they do stuff where you can dash while you're in the air, which I don't remember from Second Son. And then, like, there's no like sniper. Like, there was a sniper mode as Neon. I haven't seen that in First Light. Stuff like that they've changed. So it noticeably different, but yeah, just it's noticeably different.
Okay. I mean, are they just visual differences, or are they functionally actually giving you more or less abilities?
They are functionally different, but no, I mean, like, there's probably 4 or 5 moves that are added on that are different. Otherwise, it's all exactly the same.
Okay.
So.
Okay, but you like the story so far?
It doesn't bother me. I don't know that you would enjoy it. It's kind of a tragic story. It's really sad seeing what this girl has been going through, and kind of what's led her up to this point where she has, and when you come to her in Second Son, this girl has gone through some loss, and she's been struggling, and so you learn about that. The story is interesting a little bit to me, but I will tell you right now, it's probably only interesting because really the only thing that is out to play right now.
She does have the most interesting story, I think, of all the different characters in whatever that game is called, Second Son.
Yeah, but I mean, who are you comparing it to? I mean, if you look at Delson, okay, fine, whatever. So then the other options for conduits are as Eugene, who is the video
Smoke,
game.
whatever the Smoke dude. And Eugene's has the worst story. I
forgot about the Smoke dude. Yeah, Eugene's story is bad. His power is bad. Like, that part, I will say this, they actually did kind of break the story into what they said, because at the beginning of the game they were given a narration on kind of introducing you to conduits. Like, I don't know what a conduit is already, but the way they described a conduit made Eugene's powers seem completely like it shouldn't even be a thing. Like, like an elemental almost. Like, He,
Well, I think they define it multiple times as elemental, which is why I thought video is a stupid elemental power. That's not an element. Of course,
yeah.
is neon? I guess neon is part of the table of elements, isn't it?
Neon is yes.
But
Yeah.
smoke really, I guess smoke works in a sci-fi, fantasy, whatever setting. But I always thought video was kind of dumb.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm. This game is Second Son is definitely better. Um, than this game. The different power sets in Second Son and the kind of the bigger game, it just makes it the better option. This is just kind of a, if you're interested at all in Infamous, this is kind of a thing. I bought it because I was interested in, and there's not a whole lot that's come out recently. It's really been a drought, so I can't really recommend it unless you're kind of super into like Infamous and you would like to go through Seattle again. Otherwise, I can't.
It's the same map and everything.
You're confined to the top half of the map. You can't go to the southern half.
Okay.
Because
for those of you drug dudes.
Yeah, for those of you who haven't played it, the map is divided into a northern and a southern half with a giant river going in between the two halves. And you can see that there is something down there, but you can't go to it. So, at least not yet that I've seen. And like I said, I haven't beaten the game yet. So, yeah, Infamous for like $15. If you're interested.
How long have you played so far?
I probably put about 3 hours into it. The game is supposed to be about 4 to 5 hours, is what I've heard.
Okay.
So, and I've done a lot of the side. I've done a fair amount of the side stuff too, gathering the little orb things to level up my powers so I can get more stuff. But yeah, I probably put about 3.5 hours into that game.
Yeah, I like Infamous. It's one of the very, very few games that I fully completed the light side, like 100%, collected everything, and I did that in the original Infamous as well. So I like that series.
Wow. Except for, do you disown Infamous too?
I don't I'll bring this up later in the show. I don't disown Infamous 2. I don't think it holds up either gameplay or story-wise, as well as I think the gameplay is best probably in 3, but the story is best in 1. The original one.
I can see that. 3 is a fun game.
Yeah, two's not like a broken game. It's not even like you should play it if you like the series, but it just doesn't hold up as well, I don't think.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed playing through it. I thought it was fun. I won't say it was as good as Infamous 1 or as Infamous 3, but I found it enjoyable. I think it was given a 7 on GameSpot. I did it.
Speaking of which, I'll do a real quick throwback we were talking about Diddy Kong Racing. First, the Metacritic for Diddy Kong Racing, 88. Mm-hmm. It's not bad.
Well, it's not bad. No.
Second, the reviewer. Guess who reviewed the game?
Jeff Gershman.
Jeff Gershman. Currently of our sister site, Giant Bomb. I was looking for a quote. Sorry. Now used to work at GameSpot. Big controversy. GameSpot. I said it right. Let's see.
You were looking at
I found a quote.
Oh, quote.
Okay. First of all, the game didn't do as great on GameSpot. It got a 6.6 from Jeff Gershman, but there is a controversial quote here, and I need to find it. Drewby, stall for a second.
Are you gonna argue with Jeff Gershman, the Jeff Gershman, legendary game reviewer of the internet for the past 50 years?
He's basically been in the industry since its beginning. No, I'm not really going to argue with him. I was going to find a quote that I actually agreed with him on, but I'm sure that lots of people would disagree. Come on.
I bet you I would probably. I'm going to cast a coin and basically say that I will probably disagree with what he said. Well, no, since he didn't like it, it was a negative view. Maybe I will agree with it. I just did.
It's a 6.6, so that's not a harsh review. It's just this game wasn't that great. Let's see.
I didn't think that game was that great. The only reason I played that game, or the reason I thought it was cool, was because of the airplanes. And on my Nintendo 64, I could hop in an airplane and then fly around the map, the hub world, and I thought that was cool. Like I would just like fly around in there and just have fun.
Here we go. This is the summary paragraph. Diddy Kong Racing is a game that shouldn't have been released for at least another 6 months. The foul taste left behind by Mario Kart 64 is still too fresh in my mind to accept a game as similar as this, even though this is a much better game than Mario Kart 64 ever was.
I will disagree. I would disagree
I
with
would
that.
totally stand by that. I would stand by that till the end, because I don't... Not that Mario Kart 64 is a bad game. I'm not going to try to paint that game in a bad light, but Diddy Kong Racing 64 was my childhood.
Yes.
So, and I've gone back and played them, and I do still prefer Diddy Kong Racing. I think it has a lot more, like, it actually has a level structure, and you go through, and there's, like, bosses, and, like, a lot of unique things that Mario Kart wasn't as, okay, Mario Kart wasn't as egregious on the 64 because it was only the second Mario Kart. So it wasn't necessarily as guilty as just repeating itself over and over and over and over. It was only the second one, and it wasn't upgraded from 2D to 3D. So at that point, it was pretty innovative. And Diddy Kong Racing did have a lot similar to that. However, it was made by Rare, and it was being developed at the same time, so it wasn't like it was a straight copycat. But I do think Diddy Kong Racing did a lot more interesting things in the way that it handled. Like, there's an overworld, and you pick the levels. Like, it's not an open world game, but it's kind of like Mario Kart, or not Mario Kart, Mario 64, where there's a giant area and you pick your levels by going to them, and thus there's like kind of like there's hidden levels and hidden places to find balloons, which were like the stars of Diddy Kong Racing. I still think that's a great game. I would play an HD remake of that, or remaster, as whatever the terms were I defined in my article that I wrote last week.
I think, alright, first of all, I would think you'd want to play a remastered version of that game.
Yeah, that's the term that was correct. And it did come out on the DS. You have that one?
And I have a copy of that game. The only reason I got it is because my parents didn't know what to get me for my birthday, and I think I talked to you, and that game had just come out, and you're like, get that game. So I got that game, I asked for that game. And I still wasn't a huge fan of Diddy Kong Racing.
It's okay.
Even on a new platform. Maybe I'll pop that up.
Not like a game that's amazing. Yeah, it's rare. It was Rare back in Rare's like glory days, back when they were great.
My favorite Rare game, Donkey Kong 64.
In fact, that game contained both Diddy Kong, which was a big thing from Donkey Kong 64, and it also spawned the Conker's Bad Fur Day and Banjo-Kazooie Banjo-Tooie series.
What game? Rare spawned that? Or are you saying Donkey Kong did?
Rare spawned that. Banjo and Conker are both characters in Diddy Kong Racing.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, was Banjo... That game came first, huh? Huh.
Yes, it did come first, and even though Kazooie... or Tooie, I don't remember the story there. Even though they are not technically in the game, if you have the strategy guide or if you read the instruction manual, maybe, I think, it mentions that he keeps the bird in his backpack and it says Kazooie. And that was before Banjo-Kazooie even came out.
Huh. Good on Rare. Look at them. Building interesting video games.
Back when Rare was amazing and did lots of cool stuff before they got bought by Microsoft and then forced to make avatars.
Well, someone's got to make those avatars.
Do they? Do they really?
Otherwise, my Drewby avatar can't wear a fedora.
Your Drewby avatar, you still look like an Amish person.
Yeah, I don't know that he's been updated since I have had my haircut. He might still just be like Shaggy or something, or the image
that is the sole reason you need an Xbox One, so you can fix that thing.
There you go. Awesome. All right. So that, and then the last game, and I know you'll have something to chime in about this. I've started a little mobile game called Ingress, which is kind of, I don't know. I really like it. It's basically a
First of
AR
all,
game.
It's really dumb. It's really dumb, very simple, but also those things you said, awesome and cool.
Yeah, the basically what you do is you have to drive, literally get out of your house, grab your phone, and walk to a place that's called a portal. And
Real quick, real
there,
quick. When you said literally, you actually mean he meant that literally. Like you have to physically take your phone outside. It uses GPS, so you have to actually get up off your butt and go places.
yes, I actually meant when I said literally, I actually meant literally. And you go to kind of landmarks or things that have been marked on Google Maps. That's what
In your
it
city,
uses.
real places.
In your city, in someone else's city, you can drive to the other state, and there are two teams. There are the Enlightened, and then there are the Resistance.
Yeah.
And you and I joined a team called the Enlightened, and what we do is we go around and we kick the blues out of their spot, and we set up green portals, and try to defend them from the enemy. And what's kind of been happening is I've set my battleground focus on the city of Plattsmouth, and as I go to work and come back through work, I try to hit some of those portals and do a little bit of work, such as laying down what are called resonators. So you've got a portal. In order to take it for yourself, you have to put down what's called a resonator. And you can have 8 resonators on a portal. And what those do is they kind of defend, and not defend, they, I don't know what the canon for the story is of what they do, but no, if someone wants to take it, they have to come in and destroy those resonators.
The resonators power the portals.
Okay. And so, and if they want to, they have to destroy those resonators. And then once they destroy all of my resonators on a portal that is mine, or someone else's portal, doesn't matter. They will set up their own portal, their own resonator, and then that portal will become theirs. What you can do with portals that are yours is you can link them to other portals, and what that does is it makes the portal stronger, I believe. And then what you can do is you can also set up mods on top of these portals. And these mods consist of turrets that'll shoot back at people who are trying to take your portal, shields that will kind of help protect them and the resonators, and different types of things like, well, there's a multi-hack that I have, which basically allows someone to walk by and they can hack it twice, because how you get these resonators is you hack a portal and then you basically loot it. But you can only do it, I think, like once every 6 minutes or something like that. Once you hack a portal, there's a cooldown before you can hack it again. And so you collect these resonators. They're called XMP bursts, which are basically bombs that you use to take out the resonators, and then mods and stuff like that, and keys, and there's a lot of different stuff. But I've been kind of focusing on this game for the last couple of days, and it's been kind of exciting to see what has been happening in this city that is kind of the epicenter for the battle that I'm setting. I've got portals all along the main street of the town. Someone else does, and it's actually kind of cool because a couple of days ago, this city was completely blue on the enemy team, and just picking at it and working at it. And I've seen some other guys have been doing it as well. It's basically almost all green now, last I checked, and it's just kind of really cool to see that progress. You have no idea who your teammates are; they could be someone else in the world. It's just it's fun.
Yeah. So the city that I've been working in, and then the city I live in is Plattsmouth. We've been kind of hitting those areas. Today I had the rare occurrence of actually meeting another Ingress player. We were in Nebraska City, which is where I'm working kind of right now, and we had just, Nebraska City was completely blue and completely hardcore blue, and we'd been chipping away at it, and I think what we did was inspire a kind of revolution, because the entire city got taken over by green within, since Thursday to now. And while we were just kind of strengthening our portals and stuff, we noticed that the entire town was getting destroyed by blue people. and we were walking back and forth on different blocks trying to defend and take over some of the portals back. And this one guy is just driving by and yells out the window, "Yo, are you playing Ingress?" And we're like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he's like, I think his name was Sexy Crazy. He's like, "I'm Sexy Crazy," and like he gets out of his car. He's like, I can't remember his real name, but he's like, "Yeah, I'm Sexy Crazy." Like he introduces himself. He's like, "Yeah, I'm from Omaha, but I drove down here. I noticed you guys were getting all kinds of Omega portals. I couldn't let that happen, so I came here." Like he blew. Like he was level 8, and like we're all lower levels, and so he came and he just blew through the entire town and just put one resonator on each thing just to destroy all of our links. And then he's like, "Hey, if you're ever in Omaha, just like look me up." And he gave us all the link portals. Like he gave us items. He was kind of helping us out, but also taunting us and saying "screw you" at the same time. Like, it was kind of funny.
Yeah.
And then he ended up rolling through Plattsmouth also later on. I don't know what it looks like right now, but he blew up a couple things here.
What's awesome though is because when I rolled through Plattsmouth on my way out of work, and there was my green and your green portals, but then there were a bunch of these other ones. And I click and it's like the guy's name is like Nate Dog or something like that. He's like a level 7 green dude because he's got all these different portals and he's just kind of like set up his stuff there. I've never seen this guy in Plattsmouth before, and all of a sudden he's like there. It's like
Yeah, Nate Dogg owns a lot of the stuff I've seen. I think also in Nebraska City. Like some of these people get really hardcore into it, and I don't know, it's super nerdy. Like okay, I'm gonna tell you a little nerd story. When I first got into this game last Thursday, I just decided to go hit some stuff before I went home because we were about to take a portal, so I had to go hack some stuff. And so I just threw my backpack on my back. Like I'm already done with work. I just threw my backpack on my back, put headphones in, and I'm walking around feeling like flipping Watch Dogs dude, just like hitting stuff on my cell phone, hacking all these portals, like taking crap, dropping bombs. Aiden Pierce. Only I'm less of a disgusting human being. I've heard he's kind of a jerk in the game. Anyway, blowing through this stuff, feeling all cool. And I'm like, you know what? I'm a geek, but this is cool. Whatever. I'm gonna go all the way on this.
When I first got into it, I think it was it was last Friday. I really didn't have anything better going on at home. So on my way out, I was just kind of driving through Plattsmouth, and I decided, I'm just going to do it. So I just pulled over, and I was literally like, I just got up and I just started walking around Plattsmouth, Main Street, and just taking these portals and hacking them. And the other day, when I was trying to still figuring out everything, I pulled up into this alley behind this church and kind of parked there so I could like work on this church portal for a little bit. It's one of the most pointless things like for a game that I've really ever done, but it's kind of fun. I'm enjoying it a lot.
Okay, so this is a little bit unrelated. I actually had the idea for an app that is somewhat similar to this and somewhat similar to Second Son. My idea was it's a graffiti app where you are able to go to places like the monuments that are portals in Ingress, and you are able to take a picture of the monument, and you are able to put graffiti on it in the picture. So basically just, Photoshop, spray paint this image, and then be able to tag it on a geolocation. That way if other people have this graffiti app, you can go by and you can see that something is tagged, and you can see what they did to the monument. I had this idea probably like a year ago, and this is kind of it's not that idea, but it's the same tech that would be behind that idea, proving its possibility.
I'm wondering if that would actually catch on and be a thing. That sounds kind of awesome to me. Like, and I'm not really a big art guy or anything like that, but just the technology and be like, oh, but there's something over here, and then so you just drive by and then you just like pull it up and it's like, oh, that's kind of cool, and then just like, okay.
Yeah, I'm not saying that I would necessarily be good at it, but I thought it was a cool idea because I thought other people could do some awesome stuff. Delson has some silly, stupid graffiti that he puts on stuff, and then you go to a big city and you can actually see some really sweet graffiti. Like, I thought it would be a cool way to kind of, fake vandalize things without breaking the law.
Yeah.
But then again, because anytime you give the internet ability to draw and create, there's only one thing that happens, and it's not good. So maybe that's not a good idea.
That's kind of what I was thinking. Like, maybe. But someone did actually was awesome with it. Like, look at some of the art in Second Son, that the graffiti art that you can do kind of as a player, and it's creative. I like it.
You can't really do it though. If you gave people control, like if you were able to choose what Delson drew on everything, it would not be the stuff that's in the game.
Well, it's like templates. How about, let's say you're filling in a form. What's it called? A
Stencil?
Stencil. Yes.
Stencil.
Yes, that. Yes, that's what you do in Second Son. You fill out a stencil on the wall. So.
But until you're filling out the stencil of a wiener, it will never be the true internet.
Oh yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. So.
Wake up, Mr. Freeman. Wake up and smell the ashes.
It gives me the shivers. Like I just. Ugh.
It's a very creepy thing. I love that. G-Man.
Yeah.
What?
Do you think G stands for gangsta? Do you think G-Man?
I think it stands for government, but gangster would be cooler. I don't think. Hold on, I'm gonna play this voice. I don't think it sounds like a gangster.
Wake up, Mr. Freeman.
That's not a gangster voice.
Yo, wake up,
Wake up
free man!
Smell the ashes.
What up, free man?
So yeah,
I've smell those asses. Redacted.
What? What is it? Ashes.
I said redacted. Redacted.
Fair. All right, fine. Whatever. So, as far as games that I've been playing, that's really about it. So, what about you?
Sorry, I just completely spaced. I was just not paying
It's like,
attention.
what?
I thought you were going to keep talking, and then you were like, I haven't played anything, what about you? And I was just staring off into my computer screen. So like we mentioned last week, I've been playing World of Warcraft, and I've put my character that is... my goal was to level a warrior from 1 to 90, which is the cap now, before November. I've kind of put that on not really hold. I've been playing my character that's already level 90, and running heroics, basically, which is the kind of max level thing that you do to get better gear so you can eventually run raids. And I've been using the stuff that I'm getting from heroics to actually make it easier to level my warrior, because you can buy gear that you can give to your lower level characters that makes that easier. And so I've actually got back into healing, which is something that I really enjoy in that game, and it's super fun still. Like, I'm really enjoying it. I did something this morning which I never thought I would do, which is I woke up earlier than I normally thought I would, and since I had time, I just ran some heroics, and it was nice, quick. I'm not feeling like I need to just sit there and grind out hours, so I think I'm enjoying it in a different way this time than I used to. Not that it was necessarily a problem before, but this is a different part of my life when I'm able to just kind of do what I want and chill. And it was nice. So I've been having a lot of fun there. Excuse me. I was able to go from being level 90 to getting in heroics extremely quickly due to some, not a large amount of money that I had, but I just had money in my bank for some reason. So I was able to just buy some gear and then get going. And that's cool. I've been playing around on different characters that I have at different levels, and it's cool to experience that game in a context where I can not feel pressured to rush to any goal. If I feel like I want to play another game, I can, and if I don't want to, I don't have to. So I like that. I haven't really been playing. I've been playing Ingress and WoW basically with my time, and I've been really enjoying both of those things.
Mm.
That's mainly what I've been doing. But I did have some topics because I was listening to some other podcasts and thinking about stuff that I wanted to bring up on the show. The first one is, are we as gamers, people, I don't really like the term gamer, are we as gamers propagating the okay, I'm going to rephrase this because I suck at talking. We generally don't like when game companies make the exact same game over and over, like Call of Duty or Madden or things like that. Mario Kart.
Mhm.
I just mentioned Mario Kart earlier in the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Are we actually basically being double-sided and being a little bit hypocritical when sequels come out to games and they do things differently? Maybe like Infamous, we mentioned that earlier, and we complain that they're different than the originals. So, a lot of people don't like Dark Souls 2 as much as Dark Souls. Or as a more controversial example to me, like, what was the game? Dragon Age 2 is a lot different than Dragon Age 1. Are we being, I can't think of the right term. Yes, hypocrites, but something else. Are we being problematic when we're saying, hey, we want this sequel to be the exact same thing as the original, but we complain when sequels are the exact same thing as the original? And I think to some extent we kind of are. I think we kind of shun away from both innovation and iteration in existing franchises.
I think it depends on the case. For games that, as I as a player like and enjoy, if the sequel is exactly like it, but innovates on it, like if it's going to be the exact same, it's not going to do as well, and it's going to kind of cast a negative light on it. But I feel that you can have a similar game, but innovate on it a little bit. Now, am I glad that they're trying new things? I think I should be, because that speaks towards innovation. They're trying to be creative and come up with something different that works. So that should kind of get me excited. But like Call of Duties every year or Madden's every year, I don't know, for some reason I'm thinking that they're different than, as opposed to let's think of it like Uncharted, for example. Those games are largely similar, like basically the same game for 3 games. But it doesn't really bother me as much, because the driving factor in that is not necessarily gameplay, but more of the story. So, in instances like that, I think it doesn't. We're not being hypocritical, because that's not the driving factor of Uncharted. Whereas the driving factor of Call of Duty is the gameplay and kind of the fun shooting mechanics. Dark Souls 2, you can't. They were cleaning that game up, because Dark Souls 1 was pretty glitchy. To answer your overall question, are we being hypocritical? Yes, I think we're being hypocritical, but it's every game is different, and every game franchise is different, and
All right, so
one
here's a
game
personal example.
Okay.
You're going to let's say, so you like innovation and iteration. You like new ideas to be put into games.
I should. Now it kind of scares me a little bit, because those new ideas can suck, so that it makes me nervous.
Okay, so what if you found out that Halo 5 was a third-person cover shooter that was trying a bunch of new mechanics that they'd never used before and a bunch of different guns?
I don't know.
Would you immediately probably be turned off?
I wouldn't be turned off. I would be skeptical, definitely. I would be interested to see what's actually going to happen, and depending on what that game was showing or what it was trying to do. But no, I wouldn't be turned off to it just because it was doing so differently. Let's
assume that you are truly going to give this game a shot. What do you think the community at large would do? Because I'm going to say they would revolt and hate it. As much as people, yeah, they go ahead.
They probably would flip out, just like you're saying.
Yeah, like, because as much as people say, oh, Halo's just the same game over and over again, and Master Chief is stupid, if they were to mix something up, I think there would either be, it's hard to tell because of the internet, there would either be a large outcry because it's too different, or a very large vocal minority, or sorry, not large, a very vocal minority with the same complaint. Like, I think it's kind of, you can't win. Like, it's a lose-lose situation, because when you get popular franchises, you can't take these risks, and anytime you do take a risk, people complain because it's different than what they want. Here was this second thing I wanted to approach as semi-related. Just because, and this goes to me too, because I've complained about things like this in the past. Just because something exists that is different than how you want it to be. Let's take for example, when I was younger, I was really into Battlefront, the Battlefront series. And Battlefront 2 came out, and while it did some cool things, I thought that some of the mechanics that it added, well, not necessarily the ones it added, some of the mechanics that it changed, I did not like. I really disliked a lot of the physics changes, a lot of the ways that certain guns were balanced differently. And I really kind of got angry at Battlefront 2 for what it was doing at the time. Now, here's something that as gamers we oftentimes forget. The same thing could be said, about Dragon Age 2, whatever. Sometimes we forget that when a new game comes out and it changes everything that we liked about the first game still exists, and we can still play it in all of the glory and ways that we loved it. There's nothing changed. There's nothing that second game did that made the first game any different than the way that you wanted it to be. So if Alan Wake 2 were to come out and were to be a completely crappy game, in my opinion, I cannot hate. I can still not like the new game, but I cannot complain that I'll never be able to play, the Alan Wake I wanted to play, when the Alan Wake that I actually fell in love with still exists and I can still play it. It's not like they went back and ruined the game that I love, which is I think that's the most common phrase. Well, they ruined, Dragon Age with Dragon Age 2. They didn't really. They made a crappy Dragon Age game. I'll agree with that. But Dragon Age 1 is still just as good as you want it, remember it. Maybe not remember it, depending on your nostalgia, but it's still the exact same game that you played. Nothing changed about it. They did not ruin a game by making a crappy game. They just made a crappy game.
That's fair. But I think that a lot of that bleeds off with the fact that, the massive disappointment when a sequel comes out. Like Halo 5. And it comes out and it's going to blow. I'm going to be disappointed, and it's going to make me upset. And that, personally, I have to make sure that I don't blow that disappointment out of the water and say, oh, Halo was ruined forever. Just like you said. That responsibility for that is on the player itself to make that call.
And they should be able to make that call without just complaining that they changed the game. Because if you made Halo 5 and it were a completely different game from Halo 4, but you were a gamer that was begging for innovation or iteration, and they did it and you didn't like it, you can say that you didn't like the changes they made, but they made the changes because a lot of people sometimes say, even when they don't mean it, that they want their games to be innovative, which inherently means different, changed, which is scary.
Yeah. So, are you saying, so what would you rather do then? Would you rather them innovate, or would you rather them keep your games the same? Would you rather them...
See, that's the hard part. In my head, right now, excuse me, I've said it on the podcast before, I say I would rather have a bunch of interesting, crappier games than one samey, AAA, big budget, completely produced game.
But that was fun.
And what? Huh?
You'd rather have a bunch of smaller, crappy, different games than one fun AAA game.
Yes,
Because
that was the same as something we had already. If it was also new, then obviously I would rather have that. But in somewhat, in some ways, I think that I'm consistent on this. Like, I really would rather play a bunch of semi-interesting but not really good or not really great indie games than play, Uncharted 3. But it's hard to say because we're making theoretical statements about games that don't exist. I would like to believe that I prefer new ideas, but you got to look back and see what you thought about the games that you played as you played them to see if you're actually remaining consistent. Because I would tell you that the gaming community at large is not consistent in the fact that it seems like everybody does want innovation, but if a game changes anything, everybody freaks out. Look at the way that people used to complain about Devil May Cry, so they changed Devil May Cry, and then what was the biggest thing that you heard about Devil May Cry? They changed everything.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, that probably just comes from actual people that we admire in the game industry saying that we want innovation. This is what you can do with innovation. Innovation is why we have this said game. And then they're like, oh, cool, innovation is the hip term, hip word, if you will, and that's what we want in all of our stuff. But when in reality they don't. It's just kind of a pop culture word, a hippie word, if you will.
Yeah, so there was that, and then there was a third point that I wanted to make, which is obviously, I mean, it's still, not obviously, it's still related to the other two, I think, which is that, and I'm kind of speaking these things because in recent week, I don't want to get into a lot of details, but in the last 2 weeks, a lot of crappy things have happened in nerd culture. So as a website that calls itself a nerd culture website, I want to try to change nerd culture, at least the bad parts of nerd culture, to be more positive. The third thing I wanted to say was, just because you don't like a game as much as another game in that series or something, it does not immediately become the worst. In the nerd community, a lot of times we like to discuss things as either being the greatest or the worst. If you look at the Dark Souls community, this is just an example because it's kind of where I heard the idea was on the Duckfeed TV Bonfireside Chat podcast. A lot of people talk like Dark Souls 2 is... In fact, there is a Forbes article, a Forbes gaming article, where a guy talks about Dark Souls 2 being the worst game he's ever played.
Okay.
And that's an opinion. You can say that. I don't think he defends it very well. Which, if he did, I think I would be more likely to be okay with it. But in my opinion, it kind of seems like link bait. But here, a lot of the gaming community, including people that love Dark Souls, talk about Dark Souls 2 like it's the worst game ever because it's not as good as Dark Souls 1. If you noticed at the beginning of this podcast, I specifically mentioned, and because I've been guilty of this in the past, especially with Infamous, sometimes I talk about Infamous 2 like it's a completely garbage game. Infamous 2 is not a completely garbage game, but it is not as good as Second Son or the original Infamous. My nose is itching like crazy, you notice that? Anyway, I don't think that it's healthy as a community to discuss things in only the greatest or the worst terms. It is okay to talk about something you don't love as being pretty good. Infamous 2 is not a bad game. It's a pretty good game. I beat it in a fairly short period of time. Like, I went through and beat it in less than a week. I thought I had fun while playing it. It was pretty good. I just really, really liked Infamous, and I liked Second Son quite a bit. I don't think it's good for the community, and I don't think it's good for other people looking in when we only describe things in a binary state, the greatest or the worst thing. I think it's okay to state things in the middle.
Yeah, I agree with that. But it's so easy to describe something that you're talking about as best or worst. It's a lot easier to describe that and communicate that that idea. And in a world, the internet, where text and short tweet like communications dominate, that's probably going to happen more often than not. Because for you to say, okay, I'm going to give this game is a good game, but I don't like it, and then to try even communicate something like that in a blog post, not a blog post is bad because not many people do that anymore, in a tweet or in like a comment or something like that. Not a lot of people actually spend the time to do that, and people probably don't even spend. I mean, it's the internet. People don't formulate what they're saying; they just spout stuff off. So
yeah. So I'm not saying that it's easy, but I am saying that this is the kind of thing we want to propagate on our network. Like, I changed the stupid site tagline to say, I think it says, "The culture of my people, be the nerd you want to see," which is the worst tagline ever, but it's kind of what I'm trying to say. Just because nerd culture sucks doesn't mean that we have to be that way. Like, we can choose to make conscious decisions and talk about games in an intelligent way that other people can look at. Not that we can't be fun with games too, because obviously we can, but I think it's good to formulate your thoughts in more coherent ways than to just say this game sucks or this game rocks with an X. I think that it's healthy. It's the kind of thing I want to propagate on this site, because we have the opportunity to do things the way we want to. That's the nice thing about having your own website, your own show.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I had a point. I lost it. I don't remember what it was. Dang it.
Did it have to do? I will reemphasize a point that I made earlier in this podcast, and I don't think I was being inconsistent when I said it. I think I can defend the fact that Dragon Age 2 is actually a bad game. I don't think it's good by basically any RPG standards. And I think I could defend that in a written article with valid points without using hyperbole. Like, I don't think that's a good game.
Gotcha.
Is well voice acted. It looks pretty good, I guess, but I don't think that's enough to make it a good game.
No, as some games are. Yeah.
The Old Republic.
There you go. Yeah, there's one. But that one, there's no voice acting in that one. Oh, there's some. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there is. The Old Republic is entirely voice acted. Not Knights of the Old Republic. The Old Republic, the MMO.
Yes, that one is entirely voice acted. Except for your character.
I read everything out loud, so it's also voice acting. Voice acting is not very good on my character. It's pretty bad.
Makes it more real to you.
Yeah. I yell at the TV and, well, computer, I guess. Man, my nose is...
I don't know what's going on. It's got to be allergies. Might have been acting up the last few days.
So, to summarize what I was saying, let's see, what was the first point that I made? One, try to be consistent in wanting innovation versus wanting the same game over and over. And if you find that you are being inconsistent, try to appreciate innovation, even if you don't necessarily think it was good innovation. At least appreciate that they tried. Two, don't assume that because something changes in a series that you like, that it ruined the entire series because the games that you like still exist. The exception for this, I guess, is something like WoW, where they actually literally change things and you cannot go back and do them anymore.
Right.
I can understand that a little bit more because they literally do take away the game that you were playing. Anyway, third, whatever my third point was, which was don't describe things only as black or white. Try to be smarter about the way that you think about things, and even if you don't love something, give it the credit that you think it is worth. And if you legitimately think that you can defend a game being crap and you think you can make valid points for that, like I think I can for Dragon Age, that's fine. But don't describe something that is really fine as crappy if it's just fine. Like, I think websites that try to use the entire 10-point scale, we mentioned Kevin Van Ord giving Infamous, whatever was the DLC? First Light?
Yeah, First Light.
First Light, a 6 seems right because, like, assuming 5 is average, which I think it says, 6 is fair, meaning it's better than average, but it's not great, it's not good, it's fair.
Yeah.
I appreciate people that can kind of do that because I think that is more valuable to people inside the industry and people looking outside the industry in. I think it makes us look more credible when we can actually describe and defend our thoughts on things.
And use the whole point scale system. Please.
Yeah, that's one of my pet peeves that I'll leave alone for now, just because of time.
Yes. Yeah, I am sure we could go into that. Ugh.
As I sit here and rip my face off.
Face.
Oh my goodness.
Off.
Oh my goodness. Nick Cage references coming out. Anyway, was there... Oh, we found out... I'll just mention this briefly, because Twitch was bought by Amazon, it looks like, yesterday.
Yeah. $970 million.
Which is more money than I will ever spend in one lifetime combined.
One combined lifetime?
Every single dollar I've ever spent will never amount to anywhere close to that number.
So more money than you will ever spend in a lifetime.
I don't remember what I said. It's late. Probably.
You said it. Okay. All right. Fine.
I think I did say in a combined lifetime.
Yes.
As if I were combining my own life with itself.
It just created that.
Maybe I was combining my own life in multiple universes.
Then I couldn't argue. Then I would say that your point would probably be wrong. But anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you include the universes where I'm in debt.
So all right. So here's the question with the Twitch Amazon thing. Twitch has been going through and dumping their database. They've been wiping all their stuff, pulling out all the old archives, and deleting them. I'm assuming that they were doing this in prep to being getting bought by somebody. The other person they were looking at was Google. Why would they have to go through and clear their archives? And both Amazon and Google have large data centers, can certainly manage that much data. I still don't understand why that was even a thing, and they would have to do that. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I think I mentioned this previous in the last podcast, especially if they got bought by Google, who has YouTube, whose archives don't ever go away. I don't understand that choice at all. Amazon also, don't they advertise their cloud storage? They have a ridiculous amount of storage as well. So yeah. I cannot answer that question. I think it's weird.
Yeah,
maybe it's just so they don't have to deal with as much copyright stuff. Maybe just to lower that. That would probably make sense.
Or transferring all that over to another data center or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how it works.
Yeah, I don't know. I just thought that was weird. But yeah, Twitch got bought out. I saw a statement saying that Amazon plans on keeping it exactly the way that it is. And I'm just like, yeah, right. Yeah, that's just a lie. Well,
you never know. On some level, it is kind of a pain to go change something that's already pretty established. I mean, they just had a bunch of big changes themselves, so maybe maybe they knew it was going to happen, and the changes were the changes that are happening. So maybe it won't change right away. Maybe it will. It's hard to say.
I'm saying
anyway, I don't use Twitch that much, so.
Yeah, I don't either. Maybe more when I get my internet. But no, I don't use it at all.
Yeah. So you got anything else you want to mention after my lecture?
No, except that I think those are valid points, all of them. People should definitely put more thought into what they say. Especially
when it comes to something that we claim to be very passionate. Another pet peeve, I won't count this as a point. Frequently we will say that video games are this great art form, this great thing, and then we will turn around the next second, and when somebody complains about a game being offensive or problematic, we'll be like, well, it's just a game. It can't be both. It cannot be just a game and also an art form. In some ways we say the same thing about movies and stuff, but if we want it to be taken seriously, we cannot both turn around in the same second and pretend that it's not a serious thing, and you can just ignore everything that it says. Mm-hmm. If we're pretending that it's art. So that's a pet peeve, but...
There you go. Well, yeah. I know you can get a little bit passionate about this.
Yeah, so it's getting late. Unless you got something else, Drewby, you want to go ahead and give your spiel on how people can find you?
Yeah, on the internet, at Drewby132 on Twitter, Facebook.com/Drewby132. For my Twitter profile, there's a link to my Google Plus profile. You can check me out there as well. And then always you can find me here on the show on the topic of video games. So yeah, these places is where I be.
Drewby's bedtime was 54 minutes ago and counting, so forgive him for the yawning. Forgive me for my freaking nose scratching if you're seeing the video. That's the entire video, is just me scratching my nose. You can find me on Twitter at Michael Nip, MichaelKnipp, or on Facebook at The Real Michael Nip, facebook.com/TheRealMichaelNip. You can email us here at the show, the site, at theculturemypeople@gmail.com. That goes to both Drewby and I, and we can answer your questions about or comments, or if you want us to, we can read it on the show. You can also follow the audio version of our podcast on iTunes. You can find us there. Leave us a review. Leave us 5 stars. We would love that. We're on BeyondPod. They sponsor. No, they don't really sponsor us.
I wish.
Yeah, that's kind of basically it. Go out and play some video games. We're going to keep playing video games. I feel like eventually we'll get to a point where we can kind of say, hey, I'm going to be playing this video game this week because it comes out, but we're still kind of in that dead zone. I'm assuming you're going to kind of keep playing what you're playing?
Yep, Destiny's out in 2 weeks.
Oh, so yeah, we are almost to that point. I'll probably be playing WoW, and maybe I should play this game. I mentioned that Blake talked about this game on our last episode, Crimson Skies.
Yeah.
He mailed this to me in the mail, so maybe I should put it in, see what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be. Maybe stream some of that.
Yeah, maybe I'll make a Dark Souls 2 video as well. I can't stream actually. This is Xbox. I can't stream it.
Oh, it was on.
Yeah, it's actually OG Xbox, so I don't even know if my 360 will play it. I'll have to pull out my actual Xbox. Dang my nose. Let's quote Michael. Dang my nose.
Totally.
Oh, this is unrelated. It's also an advertisement for our other podcast, hashtag Follow the Conversation. There are some very funny choice quotes from our last episode.
Yeah.
Including, I was listening to the episode again today, including quotes where you seem joyous to watch children die.
What?
Go back and listen to the podcast. There's a section where you're talking about letting kids die and being okay with that. It was late, so you can check that out. Also on theculturemypeople.com. There was something. Oh, I emailed Giant Bomb, our sister site, this week. We'll see if that makes it onto their podcast. I texted you. What was the actual statement that I said?
I think it was a show named hashtag Follow the Conversation. Is the Can I Redeem My Soul or something like that?
Yes, something like that. Because
I'm actually really hoping that they because that's an awesome question.
That's a terrible, terrible show title. I admit that it is some of the worst things about buzzwords on the internet mashed into one. So I'm assuming if they do answer that question, Jeff Gershman will say no, as he rightly should.
I look forward to hearing it.
So until next time, when you can watch me scratch my nose for another hour, this has been Michael Nip and my co-host,
Drewby.